Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Pre-Calculus, or in short term, Pre-Cal. That is the math class you'll be taking this school year. My name is Mr. Rivera. I'll be your math teacher this school year. First thing to do is get paper and pencil if you don't have any to take down notes. If you need more time, go ahead and pause the video while you get paper and pencil. Then resume the video once you have paper and pencil to take down notes. All right, now that you have paper and pencil, the first thing to write down on your notes is my email address. It comes very handy because this is where you're going to submit all your work. This is where you're going to submit all your questions you have about math. So make sure you have my email address written down. Also, I know math is complicated. I know math is hard. We're going to work on it together to make it a lot easier to understand. Now, let's get started on today's concept. All right, guys, the concept for today is called graphing linear equations. I know it sounds complicated. It's really not. All you're really doing is graphing lines out of equations, okay? So there's another term we usually use here at Precision Academy. It's called elevator walk. So it's called elevator walk. That is a term we use here at Precision Academy. Now that we know this term, we can go ahead and start on the concept for today. All right, guys, so the technique we use, remember, it's called elevator walk. But before we can label it that, you guys need to know which one's your slope, which one's your y-intercept. So I have an equation here on the board that we're going to label. Remember, the one that is always with the variable, remember the variable is this x, is always called your slope. So this is our slope. The one on the end of the equation, the one behind, is called your y-intercept. All right, so remember, the one with the variable next to it is called the slope. The one at the end is called the y-intercept. Now that we know the basic terms, we can actually label this equation to graph. So let's start by labeling it. All right, guys, now that we know which ones are y-intercept and our slope, we can actually start labeling it for elevator walk. All right, but the first thing we have to do to this slope is we have to turn it into a fraction. The reason why is because it makes it a lot easier to graph when it's in fraction form. So what's always under a full number? It's always a 1, right? That's because it's a full number. So a 1 under the full number. Notice that now it's a fraction. Now that it's a fraction, we can actually start labeling it. So the first thing to label is your first elevator. Your first elevator is always your y-intercept. All right, so this is our first elevator. Now that we have our first elevator, because remember, it's elevator walks, 2 elevators. The reason why is because we always get that luck that we have someone in the elevator already. So we're always second to press the elevator buttons. So that's our first guy. The first guy is going to the second floor, all right? So now it's our turn. We're the second button or the second elevator in this case. So this is us. So second elevator, because we're on the wrong floor. And then we need to get off of the elevator. So we're going to walk off the elevator. In this case, we're going to walk 1 off the elevator. All right. So now that we have it labeled, we can actually graph it. Remember, elevator, walk. So now let's graph the equation. All right, guys, now that we have our labeled, our equation, remember, our first elevator, our second elevator, and then our walk. Because remember, there's always a guy that beats us to the elevator, all right? He's always first to get off the elevator. So he wants to go to the second floor. but then you want to go 3 more floors up from that because it's positive, and then you have to walk 1 to get off the elevator. All right. So let's start off with again the guys first. His first elevator. So we're at the lobby. We're in the center. We're gonna go up 2, 1 and 2. There's our first dot. That's where the guy got off. Okay. Now it's our turn. Now we can press the button on the elevator. So we're gonna go 3 more floors up. All right. So we have 1, 2, 3. Now that we're at 3 floors up, we have to go 1 to the right. It's always to the right, okay? In this case, it's just 1 because the number at the bottom is a 1. So we're gonna go 1 to the right. Looks like it's around there. Now we can connect the first and the last dot, all right? So we're gonna connect them. And that is how we graph a line. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and give you your assignment for today. All right. So let's get started on that. All right, guys, here's your assignment for today. Here's the equation, y equals 2x plus 1. Remember, we're using elevator, elevator walk. So the first thing to do is label it slope and y-intercept for number 1. So you're gonna give me one of them with the slope and the y-intercept labeled. Then you're gonna give me another one where you label it elevator, elevator walk. And then the third one is you're gonna graph this equation. All right. So don't forget, submit your answers as soon as you're watching the video. Make sure that if you have any questions, you submit it to my email address. Also, your work, take a picture of it, submit it to my email address. Also, take a picture of your notes to submit as well, so I can make sure you're taking down notes. So I will be hearing from you soon.